All right, guys, it finally happened. My home built trailer failed on me. We broke some key parts on it. So in this video, we're gonna tear it down, show you guys exactly what happened, show you guys how to fix it. Pretty much just washed the truck for nothing. It's still really hard to see what the actual issue is. It's gonna take a good eye to see what the problem is here. This isn't a design flaw or anything of mine that broke. We got an equalizer bolt. That's broken. The bolt itself is still in there. The head snapped off. Some of the bolt's still in there holding it on, but I noticed this when we got home. Should look like that. Should have a nice mushroom head on it. Huh? Clearly missing a bolt. All right, I got all these axles strapped up. Just went around the axle. There's a few bolts. These may not come off. These are rested on. Plan B. These spring hangers are obviously trashed and not going to be reused, so I will be cutting them off now. Now we got to get these equalizer bolts off and everything, all the suspension will drop. Suspension is out. This is so wild how much movement there is in these axles here. That is not good. This one's worn the hell out. Jeez, just worn like crazy. I didn't even see the other side. Both of these on the left side are just completely worn out, just like junked. The right side didn't seem so bad either, which is weird. These two are worn out, but they're not like super worn out, and they do have the same rubber on them that I was excited my new ones came with, so that's good. This is what's left of the bolt that I took out of my equalizer right here. This literally came through. Yeah. Was sitting in there just like that. Almost all the way worn through. Surprised it even hung on. But yeah, junk. This is what you get when you build a high quality trailer and use off the shelf trailer suspension parts. But yeah, got a couple more bolts. Let's get them off. All right, this is the other bolt out of the front equalizer. You can see how chewed up that is. But yeah, axles are just hanging here. Whee! We got all new springs, hangers, bolts. We're getting new U-bolt kits, the whole nine, all brakes on the back and everything. So right now we're installing the springs, all the springs and the hangers. We're here with Brianne, and Brianne's gonna show you how to do it.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that.
Let's go.
First spring for a trailer.
Let's go.
inside.
Yep. I'm gonna hold it for you. Okay, put it in. There you go.
There.
So this is a slipper spring suspension. They have eyelets in the front, and on the back they have to slip a little bit. They ride on a bolt like this and they slip. As the suspension goes up and down, these 2 points get longer and shorter. So if there was 2 eyelets, there would be nothing for it to go out. It's spread and it would bind so that the suspension would work. So now as the spring compresses, this goes out a little bit and it rides on this bolt right here and has a chance to slip in there. And then on top, when the spring comes up top, it rides on there. The top of the spring rides on there. And that's how the slipper springs work. Yes, we are.
Oh my god, dude, which way you at?
Right here. Alright, now that we got some leaf springs in here to hold them, I'm gonna release all these axles and let them sit back down on the spring, and then we'll put them in, and then we'll lock them into place with the U-bolts. Just watch the brake wires. Alright, it's U-bolt time. Pretty simple. This is what secures the axle to the leaf springs. Two of these bolts go over here. 2 bolts go over the axle. And then they just clamp right around the axle, put the bolts nuts on the bottom and tighten it down. Pretty easy peasy. No. All right, we're gonna torque all these U-bolts. These U-bolts are important to me because if this bolt strips or if I over tighten it, the thread's just gonna pop out, axles are gonna come off. The manufacturer recommends 90 foot-pounds. All right, we got the suspension all buttoned up. Now we're gonna take these hubs off, get to the brakes underneath, service the bearings. I'm sure the bearings are probably good. Just gonna clean them up, put some new seals on, and put some new backing plates on and call it a day. Thank you. Come right off. As you can see, this grease is smoked. So, good thing we're servicing them. The cap, you don't necessarily need to put in there. The cap I will keep separate, but everything else, you're gonna start. You got a cotter pin right here. First thing we need to do is remove this cotter pin. You pull it out just like this, and you can try and get those straight and pull it out, but I always replace the cotter pin, so I'll cut that right there, make this easy on myself. Get yourself a little pick, find the other part of it, have it going a little bit. Get the pin starting to come out, grab some pliers, grab onto the pin. Case won't leave me alone with his balls. Now you can sit on there and try and just jimmy it out. It should, oh yeah, it should come right out. There you go. Put the pin in the bearing cap so you don't get anything else dirty. Now at this point, we have a nut, we have a washer, and then we have our 2 bearings. So the nut is pretty simple to come off. They're not, when you put these on, you just snug them up. You don't actually tighten them with a tool or anything. So they should come off with little resistance. Put your pliers on them and start turning. Suspension. This is kind of old school. A lot of two-wheel drive trucks and stuff will have the same exact thing. It's hard to see because of all the grease. This is called a castle nut. You see those grooves in there? That's where that cotter pin sticks right through and allows it so that this nut doesn't back off while you're driving. Because if you tighten this nut on there too tight, your bearings would overheat and they wouldn't be able to spin. So by snugging that nut up, it makes it so that it could easily loosen. They put the cotter pin in there to hold everything together. Next thing that's going to come off is a washer. Use our pick. Get this guy coming. They like to stick to the bearing since the grease, but I'm going to pull them off one by one for you guys. So we'll get these separated here. Case, watch it. And you can see on this washer, it's got some grooves in it actually, which mean at some point maybe they're not. There's a little bit. It's hard to see, but you see all those rings in there that indicate that this at some point that nut wasn't tightened all the way, so this bearing was actually able to spin in there. So the next thing that's going to come off is the bearing, and you get to go in there. I could probably go in here and pick it out, but generally, see how it's kind of, yeah, there it'll go. It'll come out. So the brakes are tight. Give it a couple hammers on each side. Push those drums in a little bit. Take some pressure off. As you can see, as I move that, this bearing's coming out. So we'll get that bearing out. Now I'm going to pull this whole hub off as one assembly with the bearing inside of it. Usually don't give me this much trouble coming off, but we've got it. All right. So as you can see, we've got a seal on the outside here. This is the groove for the seal. So this is your seal right here, this whole part. So we'll get that popped out, and that's your inner bearing right there. I pull up this front drum here, and as you can see, this is a great example of a failed seal. So see all that grease on the wires, back up here, all the grease all over the brakes, the magnet, etc. And see how it's all in here. It's not really too bad on the drum itself, but it's all over back here. So that tells me that that seal was failing and leaking. So we gotta get all this cleaned up, get some new parts on it. It'll be good to go. All right, well, last night I ran out of things to do on the bearings since I didn't have the parts. So I started tackling other problems on this trailer, which one of them is the breakaway doesn't work. So we got the battery all disconnected and everything. Trying to figure out which wires go to what for the breakaway. But first thing we're gonna do is tap into this. I'm replacing the 7-way because when I built this trailer, it was too short. The wire did not reach the 7-way, and when I would make a turn, it would rip out. So I bought this extender, and I've been rocking an extender for a long time on here, which I just cut that off there. So I've been rocking an extender on here for a while, but I mean, it hasn't caused me any problems, but just having the extender laying in here is kind of gets in the way, and I'm always scared I'm going to throw something on it and rip the wire. So I just cut it off, and I'm just going to splice it all in together. And to the end, we've got our other piece somewhere. I don't know where it went. Right here. But yeah, we're just gonna tap this all in right here. And I've got this big old and I wasn't able to find any shrink wrap big enough to go around it, but I found this underground kit that came with this big piece of shrink wrap, and it has a 3-to-1 shrink ratio, so I'm hoping it'll shrink tightly around the rest of this. I might put some electrical tape in there to fill up the gap a little bit. But yeah, that's what we're doing right now. So we're gonna spice this in and get on the way, get some wires, get some lights back. So yeah, first thing before we get started, let's put that on so that we have that. I'm just simply gonna butt connect all these together. So So I think I found out when my trailer breakaway isn't working. I got all the right battery, the right wires. I have it wired up to the brakes. I have it wired up to the battery, and then I have it wired, and then I just don't have a ground. So I need a ground wire is essentially what I'm trying to say. So I got this little wire. Just gonna put 2 terminals on each end, ground it out to the frame, and then put it on the negative battery, and my breakaway should work. Good one. I'm just gonna go from there to the trailer frame. Really doesn't need to be that long. Probably cut it about right here. Slip that over like that. Boom. Money do. I think we're just gonna do a pilot hole just to make this easier. See if we can get this in now. I don't have the right leverage I need on it. Got it started. I might just have to finish it in with a ratchet here. When you pull your breakaway switch, or when you hit your brakes in your truck on your electric brake controller, this magnet gets electrically charged from the 12-volt system on the truck. And this magnet is right next to the brake drum that's spinning, and it tries to grab the brake drum, and that's why it causes your thing to break. So this is a great demonstration. I have my breakaway switch unplugged, and I'm trying to test to see if my breakaway works. When I put this piece of metal onto this magnet, it should grab it. Look at that. That means that my trailer brakes are working. When I unplug the breakaway, this magnet should get demagnetized and drop this piece of metal, and that'll tell me that my trailer brakes are working. Boom. That's a cool little way to test your brakes with the drums off. Okay, so we got the breakaway working. With that being said, I could finally plug this blue wire in, get all these babies cleaned up and ready to go, or heat shrinked up and ready to go, and then get back to the bearings. All right, good connection. Got all these good to go. Just gotta pull this shrink wrap over all these guys and shrink wrap these up individually, and then as one big piece at the end. Let's see if we can get all this shrink wrapped. It actually all turned out really good for what it was, considering that was a whole bunch. They all shrink wrapped down right well. Harness is gonna have a big old lump here, but that's okay. Okay, that's even good enough to run it how it is right now, you know, but it's not gonna last long. A couple weeks or months of going down the rainy roads, that's going to come right off. So let's see if we can get this to seal up nicely around it, and I'll be very happy with that fix if I can. Here goes nothing. I am happy with how that 7-way turned out. It's all good to go. The only other concern I have is my 2 breakaway wires right there. You can still see that there's a chance for them to rub on the metal. It's been like that for the last 2 years since I built it, but I'm gonna throw some electrical tape around it just to ensure that that's good to go. Keep this over here, and yeah, call it a day. All right, I secured my battery in with a little strap here. So I know it's ghetto, but I don't have a battery mount, and the strap does just fine. So with that being said, just gotta hook up the winch, and we should be done. It's okay. Okay. More sense, just run it under like that. Boom. Boom. I think that's all we got on the ground here. Took a picture of it before just so I could reference back. We had 2 ground wires, but I had it going to the wrong one. That was my breakaway switch. So yeah, my breakaway wasn't working right. I had it hooked up to the wrong thing, but we got it all taken care of now. Yes, sir. Cool. Double check to make sure that the winch still works. My winch remote was all wet in this box. See all the moisture? It was like in a sealed box of moisture, but good thing it's still working. Got all my wiring good. So we got the 7-way too. It's not so squishy now that everything dried. And yeah, actually a really strong, good connection. So I'm really happy with that. We got a 7-way that will reach. That'll reach now. Don't have to worry about no adapters or anything hanging out in here. So yeah, really cleaned up the wiring in this tongue real good. We're locked in 4 high. 4-wheel lock or whatever. I think that's I think 4-wheel drive is, 4-wheel high is the tool for the job. I don't think 4-wheel low is going to give me much performance here. But yeah, let's get it.
He's out of it.
Bit to get it out, but yeah. Good truck. Good truck, good trailer. Right on. But yeah, got the end closed out, ready to go. Working on doing this shrink wrap. These connectors. I always use the heat gun on low for this. You don't want to overdo them, but just start evenly putting heat onto them. And this shrink wrap isn't shrinking too well on this wire. I've done a couple on the other side already, but we're getting it as good as we can. As you can see, the shrink wrap isn't exactly getting the best shrink on all these guys. It shrinks better on this thicker wire, but ain't no thing. We still got it on there and it's good to go. It may not be a perfect seal, but it's better than nothing. So today I'm putting in new bearings and races for all the axles. So I need to knock out the races, this inner part that the bearing rides on. They make the races so that you can just replace this. If a bearing goes bad and starts chewing into your hub and drum, it only chews up the race, hopefully, instead of chewing up the whole brake drum and hub. So that way it saves you a little bit of money. You could just replace the races and bearings instead of buying the whole assembly. This is one of those things where it's really easy if you have the right tools. If you don't, it makes it hard. So get this nice little chisel and sledge. You're gonna want to get it right on that inside lip. You see that? You see the nice silver rim right there? That's the race on the other side. It looks like this, but it's on the outside. So you need to get the chisel right on it. Give it a few whacks. A few good enough hits, you'll pop it out, and that's what it looks like. Do the same thing. See the lip on there? Chisel right there on the lip. Alright, for the reinstall, it should be pretty simple. Straightforward. Get some bearings. Actually, first thing first is to clean this up. Clean up this bore, whatever you want to call it. I guess it's pretty important to keep the race with the right bearing. I don't know how important it is from the get-go, or if that's only after you've used them, but make sure they stay together. I'm gonna put this one in this one. Get your install tool. All set up. Get your hammer and gently swing away. Want to make sure it's going in straight, which it is. And just keep hitting it until it bottoms out. You'll hear the difference in tone. You'll know. There. There you go. For sure. They settled in. Definitely heard the difference. Yeah, there's one. Flip it over. Do the other one. Weird this size. That'll work. Alright. That one down in there. Once again, most important thing is that it's going in even and flat. Boom. Bottomed out, race installed. Alright, we got 6 more of those, 5 more of those to do. Not gonna bore you with that. We'll get those all installed and catch you back for the grease and the bearings and putting the seals in. We're gonna pack these bearings. We got our races installed last time, so we're gonna pack the bearings now. We got 6 bearings, 6 outers, 6 inners. So we're gonna pack all 12 of them right now and get them ready to go on. Get a nice handful of that. That'll do. Take the bearing. So you got the rollers there. You're gonna be wanting to scoop like this. You're gonna scoop it in the palm of your hand, and you're gonna do that until you notice it coming off the other side of the bearing here. And it's gonna take you a little bit to find the right technique, but once you figure out how to press it in there and press it through, once you get that technique down, you'll have it. It takes a second to get it all through. Definitely annoying, not fun work. And then once you get it all packed, you can go ahead and coat the whole thing in grease if you want. Either way, it doesn't really matter. It's gonna get grease on it once you put it in. Yeah, put it down in the hub there and go on to the next one. Alright, we got these wheel seals to install. Pretty simple. That side goes down, that side goes up. Make sure your bearing's in there good. Boom, skibbly doos. Put that on top.
It's really important to make sure this goes in as flat and as even as possible. Get your tool in there, make sure that's all on there even. I like to just push my fingers down there, make sure it's seated on there, give it one solid blow, check it. You can see that it's going off to this side a little bit, so I'll get over here and give it a little more on there, even it up, get it even, get my tool on there evenly, and then just give it a few solid drives until you feel it bottom out. Boom. Felt it bottom out, it's in there evenly. That's all it is. Alright, we're gonna get these hubs installed. First thing, just want to get a little bit of grease. I'm gonna put a little grease on here so that seal will be able to get on without having to force it on. Okay, excuse me, case. Take our hub, get in on it. Being gentle with that seal in the back, not to knock it up on anything. Twist it to help seat everything. And then once you get it there, that feels like it was fully seated. Next is a nice greasy outer bearing. And your castle nut, it's easy to put them on as a set. And just put that on there, get the thread started, and boom. The rest is simple. Take a socket or a pair of pliers. I have the socket, so I do that. And just tighten it down. Some of that grease is probably going to start pushing out. That's okay. And then it's not, which is actually perfect, which means we've added the right amount of grease. Not quite sure if this is fully seated or not. There we go. See, it took a second to fully seat something, but not fully on there. But hopefully that seal is good. Definitely on the tighter side, but it works just fine. Get this pin through. The last thing we got to do with these guys is put the cap on. Normally I would do that after I did all the other ones, but my dog likes to run around and run right into these grease or these spindles and get covered in grease. So that being said, I'll put the cap in real quick. Not too much that it's going to blow anything out, overpack it, but just enough to say you did something, you know. Make sure this area on the outside is all clean so it can go on. Get it on in there. Get your little, oh, that's gonna fall. I use the seal installer for this. Makes it nice and simple. Same thing, make sure it's all on straight. And a few little wax till she bottoms out. So far one of the only design flaws about this trailer has been that these axles bottom out into the frame, and as you can see, they're bending the frame when they bottom out with the U-bolt. See how it's bending the frame here? So with that being said, I got these bump stops. I'm gonna weld right up in here. Hold these bump stops right up in here, and it's gonna sit right up in there, and the axle, when the axle comes up, it's gonna hit it. And I know that it's not gonna give it much travel. It's gonna hit it pretty quick. There's only going to be about an inch or two in between the axle and this rubber, but this axle could hit this, the axle can come up and hit the rubber all day, and if it's just riding on rubber, you know, it's going to be such a smoother ride for me. So I figured this would save the trailer a little bit, save the leaf springs. The leaf springs aren't going to bottom out as much and compress so much, so they won't be wearing out as fast and flattening out and breaking like they did. And yeah, so it provides a couple different things: some smoother ride, less bottoming out, and saves the springs and the frame. So yeah, let's get these installed. Gotta all right. Oh, here goes nothing. Oh my god, it's holding. That's crazy, it's holding. You wouldn't think this would be so hard. Alright, so we welded on that first bump stop, but I wasn't too happy about that. I was thinking about it. If this little rubber falls off, these are cheap little $20 bump stops. So if that little rubber falls off, then I'm gonna have to cut each one of these off every time it breaks and weld it back on if it happens. So I decided just to drill some holes and gonna bolt these in underneath. Should be able to get these puppies tightened up. Alright, we got all the new bump stops installed. We got the suspension painted up. So let's go over everything that we did. We put all new suspension, all new equalizers, all new brake wiring, all new brake backing shoes, new bearings, new grease, new caps. The only thing that we reused was the hubs. Got it all tightened up. Brand new bump stops so that she doesn't bottom out anymore and create the bends in the frame. Doesn't compress the leaf springs as much, causing those to break and flatten out, and it provides a smoother ride going down the road hitting these bump stops. So with all that being said, it's time to get the wheels back on her and get this trailer out on the road. I have no idea how glad I am, how excited I am to finally let these jack stands down. This trailer's been in this yard for about a month, sitting on these things, waiting for me to finish her. Alright, last but not least, torque these wheels to 140 and call it a day. You take it to a tire shop and they just ugga-dugga your lug nuts on with an impact wrench. Don't torque them, and that breaks the lug studs. Once you start going down the road, hitting a couple potholes, break your lug stud, boom, there goes your tire. So that's the two reasons that I normally see why wheels fall off. And the first reason, usually the reason why you would smoke a bearing is obviously improper maintenance. If a wheel cap falls off when you lose your grease. But the other reason, the most popular reason I see why people are blowing through wheel bearings, is that they use their fancy little brake controller that's hooked up to their truck, which is all fine and dandy, but you have that gain turned up real high, and you're in the truck and it all feels good, you know, you're like, oh yeah, I got plenty of stopping power, my truck can stop the load, you know, my trailer brakes working good, you know. But at any rate, your trailer brakes are probably working too good, because those electric trailer brakes start to activate as soon as you put your foot on the brake pedal, and they don't let off until you release the brake pedal because they're electric. So it doesn't matter how hard you're pushing it down. If you're just barely pushing it down on your truck brake, your trailer brakes are probably doing a lot of the work. So watch out. So the trailer brakes end up getting overworked and heated up, and that causes the bearing grease to heat up, and then you lose a seal because the grease gets so thin it can leak out the seals. Then you lose a bearing because you have no grease. Then you lose a wheel because you have no bearings. Just a little tip, I always run my brake controller on the manual little sidebar. I have the gain turned down so it doesn't work on my pedal, just so that I could always give it the amount of brakes that I want to. It's never over braking, never under braking for me, and I'm in control the whole time, and I rarely ever have bearing failures. To each their own. The only time that I don't use, the only time that I have my trailer brakes turned on to use them on the foot is when I'm using my manual transmission truck, and that's because I downshift and I am using my hands to downshift and can't be using my hands for the brake controller at the same time. But that truck has plenty of braking power because you can downshift, so you don't need to worry about the trailer brake so much.